not there.
To the voices of the people.
We are suffering. This suffering is too much. It's too much. Look at the students. There's no job. They're feeling school. There's no job for them.
We analyze the undercurrents, expose the intrigues, and break down the narratives that define our democracy. Dr. Tony Olisa Mbeki delivering razor-sharp analysis, and Ebuka Franklin and Chisom on the question wheel, driving the conversation. We bring you the most compelling discussions on governance, policies, and power plays. Stay informed, stay engaged, stay ahead. The Polity, every weekdays at 9:15 a.m. Exclusive on Udala 104.7 FM Onitsha.
The last 72 hours have been a super interesting one, from the court's verdict on the case of Senator Natasha Akpoti recalling her to the Senate, down to statements made by former presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 election, Mr. Peter Obi, in response to some of the things that have come up concerning the coalition that happened last week. That's the adoption of the ADC as the official vehicle for all, I'd say, aggrieved politicians from different political parties who have decided to come together to form a formidable force to wrestle power from the APC come 2027. And then over to some statements made by FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, a former governor of Rivers State, and also to Wike's response to some of the things that Mr. Peter Obi said yesterday, and down to the Anambra State Police Command's update on some security discoveries and gains made in Anambra State in the past week, in the weekend. And of course, all of those and some more of developments in and around Nigeria are things we're going to be looking at on the Polity today, Monday, 7th of July, 2025. Good morning to you and welcome. My name is Chisom Chinedu, and of course, I'm not alone in the studio. I have with me my co-anchor, Franklin Ebuka. Good morning, Franklin.
Good morning, Chisom, and good morning to everyone. Just like you cited, that the weekend was actually packed, even to yesterday, where there was that interview that the television station had with former governor of Anambra State P2B. And if you check most of the newspapers, even if you go to Channels Television website, you see that they have not less than 8 stories developed from that very interview. And then talk about what happened in other sphere. On Friday I talked about our governor, being, having a schedule to be in the U.S. To have a town hall meeting. That town hall meeting happened yesterday, and it was streamed live on social media for people to have a first-hand information about that very town hall meeting. And we'll talk about football, where WAFCON actually started over the weekend, and yesterday Super Falcons were able to show that that they are the old ladies in this very tournament, because they are seeking for their 10th title, and they began their campaign with a 3-0 win over Tunisia. Quite an interesting one. So let's see what other things we have in the paper this very morning.
Definitely, we are going to tell you what the front pages say before we dive into the analysis, which is going to be done mainly by our in-house analyst, Ogarakiri one of Osumo, Dr. Tony Olisa Mbeki. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning, Chisom. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, the good people of South Ud. Good morning in Danambara, in Onitsha. FM Onitsha again. It's always a pleasure to be here. Remember, we are back in our sanctuary after the weekend. The weekend had a lot, and then it really toyed on our nerves. But we are back to do what we are supposed to do. Let's pontificate the truth, and we have interesting headlines here, and we're going to do justice to some of them, or even more. Dissect them, tell you things behind the scene, things you should know, and things probably nobody has told you. You're welcome.
You're most welcome. And of course, we're going to start by telling you what the front pages say. On our desk this morning, we have the Vanguard, the Punch newspaper, the Nation, and the Guardian newspaper. And like Franklin rightly said last week, you said, hopefully, after the commissionings that happened last week, we're going to have less advertorials. And from what we say, or what we see, all they're going to kiss you, Franklin.
As expected.
As expected, indeed. Let's start with the Vanguard newspaper, where we see ADC beginning takeover of PDP structures in northern state. The Vanguard says ADC begins takeover of PDP structures in northern states. The writers here, PDP calls the factors to ADC good riddance. I'm loyal to APC, Zulum has that to say. Dismisses the faction rumor. YOB is still committed to LP. Source, Article El Rufai, Obi's coalition is a fraud, APC scribe. FG's reforms mere optics, not solutions, ADC. You failed as Interior Minister. Wike tackles Aregbe Shola. I am still in LP. Mr. Peter Obi has that to say. When I listened to that interview that you mentioned earlier, Franklin, Mr. Peter Obi said if he becomes president, he would make sure that there are formidable oppositions and not oppositions that are balkanized by moles being planted among them. And I am just wondering, how has it been, or how has he not been able to fix his own house, the LP? I mean, the first house he couldn't fix, PDP, he left. The second house now, LP, still not being able to be fixed.
Well, that very statement was one of the downsides of the interview he had yesterday, because when I heard him talk about if he becomes the president, he's going to ensure that there is viable opposition. That made me to think about what happened in Anambra State when he was a governor. I can recall vividly, I covered the election, that was local government election in Anambra State. I covered Newi not precisely. And I can recall then the interview I had with the then chairman of Labour Party, who is now in APC, talking about Engineer Sam Orebunam. That election was conducted, and the result of other local government areas were declared, but that of Newi North was not declared. Why? Because Ebuka didn't win in that local government area. So the thing is, it was one of those political statements from the entirety of the interview he had yesterday. So that one is follow.
One of those, follow. He also made some claims, I'd say bogus, concerning the brewery he set up being one of the biggest being actually the highest taxpayer in the state.
Well, but I think that one has not been displayed by anybody, because this is like the third time he's saying that, and nobody has come up to dispute that.
We've actually seen disputes. However, we're still waiting for figures.
No, I haven't seen anybody who countered it, saying that it is not. What I have seen is that people saying that the brewery is no longer as profitable as he projected it.
Oh, well, last night, I'd say in a privileged conversation, some persons disputed it. But I'm yet to check the facts, so I cannot bank on it. All the stories here you'd see, Tinubu in Brazil. I'm contesting for president, not VP. Peter Obi has that to say on page 40, still speaking about that interview. An in-verification portal frustrates banks, telcos as downtime persists. That's on page 26. And now moving further into the Vanguard newspaper, some more stories you may want to check out. Delta North local government chairman does own Anioma state creation document. Tinubu may only get 30% northern votes in 2027. Zainab Galadima has that to say. Another quite what I call an interesting take and interview that came up in the last 72 hours, all towards Vision 2027. And I'm just wondering, governance is lagging behind, and we are talking 2027. Or only Lili Nidin Dona 2025, Gabia vote in 2027. Insecurity is ravaging the country. People are dying in their numbers, and we are is it their ghosts will vote in 2027? Anyway, Also, you'd find this one. Search for 10 missing girls continues. Nearly 80 dead in Texas floods. Please, I think that's concerning the camp that was unfortunately caught up in that flood. Please vow to halt cult day violence. Oh, today is 7/7. Interesting. Obi promises to set Nigeria on right path within 4 years. JAMB releases a results of mop-up examination. Please declare 2 wanted over attack on Ahoada East local government area administrator theft. My suspension can't stand. Moniac replies Albert Traditional Rulers Council 2027. You have track record. Be careful in your association with coalition. Lawyer tells Obi.
Because I've seen that argument. People are saying, okay, you have professed to be a man different from the usual Nigerian politician, and the fact that you are now in a coalition with most of them in ADC, so don't you think that they are going to corrupt the so-called manner that you said you have? So that's where that one is coming from. So let's look at the headlines on Punch newspaper. We look at the banner headline that says 10 states borrow 417 billion naira despite higher allocations. See page 31 of the Punch newspaper. It has a rider. Rivers Taraba top debt surge as 10 states account for 34% of subnational domestic debt. You can read that story on the Punch newspaper. But then beside the nameplate, the headline here says 2027 coalition crisis brews as ADC chairman set terms for alliance. The likes of ADC chairman in Akwa Ibom, Benue and some other states, they are kicking, saying that the party was hijacked from them. And this one says a recapitalization, 5 banks hit CBN target ahead of deadline. That's interesting, page 35 of the Punch newspaper. Nigeria's unity under attack from terrorists, separatists. Tinubu is the one saying so. You can see that on page 9 of the Punch newspaper. And then if you go into the inside pages of Punch newspaper, you see a headline like Enugu sacks contract over poor school construction. My loyalty to APC unshaken, says Borno governor. There was this rumor that he's going to lead 5 other governors of the APC into the ADC, but he's saying that there's no element of truth in that very rumor. This one says, how cheap poly SUG election marred by violence, ballot box snatching. Because if we're going to have SUG election and we're having records of ballot box snatching and violence, well, that means we are very far from being redeemed. JAMB releases 2025 mop-up UTME result. Senate awaits CTC on Natasha's court victory. Natasha said she's going to go to the Senate on Tuesday. She's going to resume on Tuesday. But Senate is saying that we haven't even seen certified copy of the court judgments to know how we are going to respond to that. So Senate is saying until we get that, that's the only way we can know how to go about what the court has ordered. 2027, I will run for president, not Atiku's VP Bitobi. Natasha to resume Senate duty on Tuesday after court ruling. Why Benue's anti-open grazing law isn't working? Alia is saying that for the fact that the people who are going to enforce the anti-open grazing in Benue State, they are not armed with sophisticated weapons, that they cannot attack the terrorists with ding guns. That's why the law is not operative. This one says police attack JED worker after barracks disconnection over 112 million electricity debt. How do we describe this? That law enforcement will take laws into their own hands just because there was disconnection to the electricity, because they owe. I don't know if we have become an animal farm. And this one says Turuji's Bay. Okay, Turuji's peace talk empty without release of hostages. Sokoto government. These are the headlines we have on Punch newspaper.
All right, then from the Punch newspaper. Let's proceed to The Guardian. Let's see what The Guardian newspaper has to say on the front page here. All theft eases despite $25.7 billion losses in 23 years as operators turn to barges. That's on page 6. Now, above that, NLC warns against removal of labor issues from exclusive legislative list. That's on page 4. Tariff hike slows new phone lines activation as operators get ultimatum. On page 4 as well. More Nigerians losing faith in Tinubu government, public institutions, Poll reviews on page 5. Tinubu orders security agencies to crush bandits, separatists, others on page 9. Obi affirms 2027 presidential bid as Wike bets against his ambition on page 6. Catholic group advocates electoral reforms before 2027 on page 5. Police warn Ogunondo residents against 777 cult celebrations. That's on page 7. Senator waits a certified true copy of Natasha's reinstatement order on page 9.
Okay, so let's look at the headlines from the Nation newspaper. Mark Aroboshola takeover in conflict with ADC constitution. He has a rider. Nwosu Matera disagree on amendment of party rules. That's the banner headline on this very newspaper. The other headline says, I'm still in the Labour Party, says Obi. That's on page 4. Natasha will resume tomorrow, page 6. Is he going to resume? Wouldn't that amount to, being the law unto herself? Because I'm not sure that the court gives such an order that she should resume. Okay, then another headline here says, firms local substitution boost trade balance. That's on Nation newspaper. Ethnic nationalities back Wike's demand on release of NDDC forensic report. That's on page 2. That interview Wike had over the weekend where he talked about Amechi and how his wife was collecting 4 billion naira from NDDC
every month.
Yes, to empower women, which according to him never happened. So this very group is backing what Wike said. The other headlines we have on Nation newspaper. 2 die, 6 injured as Auchi Polytechnic SUG election turns violent. Coalition crusaders are internally displaced politicians. Basiru. Soldier escaped death in Edo. And this one says, Delta community leader warns against sponsor protest against Tantita. Senate will study judgment on Natasha before acting, says spokesman. Rescue Nigeria claims by coalition party ADC member selfish. That's on Wike. He's been talking too much. ASUB decries 8-month salary delay in federal tertiary institutions. And then the last headline here says, why I'm part of Tinubu's government by Wike.
All right, gentlemen, we are going to get into the business of the day, starting with, I think we should start with that conversation on Obi's, I think before Obi's media parley, before that, what's it called now? Before that interview Obi had, there was an interview that featured Amechi. Then there was one that featured Wike responding to Amechi. I think that came before the one Obi had. And then the one Obi had was also followed by statements made by Wike at an event yesterday. And then would eventually look at the court's order on Natasha, which I think happened before all of this. So let's start with that. On Friday, the court, in its judgment, said Natasha is to pay 5 million naira for that. Would I call it? It was called a sarcastic apology. If you remember that particular one she made on Facebook, we read it out here when it broke. And so let's start with what you think about that judgment on Friday, and also the judge who presided over that matter did actually say that she found it unfair for Natasha to be suspended for 6 whole months. A report here says Natasha is set to resume tomorrow, and Franklin asks the question, is that what the court has ordered? I mean, the court has said her suspension is unfair. Good. Has the court ordered that she resumes immediately? We're still waiting for certified true copies, by the way.
The court made certain pronouncements, and the idea of waiting for the CTC is just to understand the consequential orders. And I've said it here. When a judge is delivering judgment, there are statements made in person, and those statements made in person do not constitute
Part of the judgment.
the real judgment. So when a judge says this or that, what we are interested in will be the consequential orders contained in the said judgment. So the consequential orders are the exact orders the court exerted on issues presented before it. So, but the dictum obitum or dictum obiter, as the case may be, those statements made in person we shall not consider. Now, on what we are told. I wasn't in the very court the very day the judgment was delivered. I know journalists covered it, and even the representatives of the parties involved, they made statements. Now, but let's act or work with what we are told, or the information we got from the said court. One, that the court really, you asked me what's my take or what's my thought about the judgment of the court. For me, I'm okay with the judgment.
Okay.
The judge Binta Nyako of the Federal High Court addressed salient issues on both sides. But for me, the judgment was very balanced and even. One, the court acknowledged the fact that the Senate has power to discipline every members, and the Senate President also has power to allocate seats, and the Senate President has power to determine who speaks and who doesn't speak. That these things are within the prerogative of the Senate President. You people made him the Senate President, even with influence of the executive, but that's the way it is. Now, what the court frowns at is the length of the suspension, because if you look at it, the court really found that you can't, in a way to discipline a senator, deprive his or her senatorial district or her constituents the benefit of proper representation is important, and then court address it immediately, and then very well. So in addressing that, the court said such lengthy period not just being excessive, it was unlawful and unconstitutional, and it violated, according to the court, section 14 subsection 2 of the Legislative Houses Powers and Privileges Act, and also chapter 8 of the Senate Standing Rules, which do not specify a maximum duration for suspension. The courts held that a 6-month suspension spanning nearly the entire 181 day annual legislative session deprived the people of true representation and infringing on their constitutional rights. I totally agree with the courts. But then, when we talk about consequential order, I'm aware that somehow I've read some reports that the court ordered the Nigerian Senate to immediately recall and reinstate Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan to resume her legislative duties as the senator representing Kogi Central Senatorial District. Those who were privy to consequential order, I'm not talking about what people said or those representatives. There were those that said that, of course, from what they cited, but the CTC, the certified true copy of that judgment, I believe will be procured today. And then the issue of contempt you raised, because the court found the woman guilty of civil contempt for violating a prior order that was made sometime around April 14, 2025. Because the court before now, or at that point, at that very particular day, bad public comments on the case, and the woman went on to write satirical letter, energy, and then trying to show that I can fight at all time. But it's good she has fought anyway. But it is good the court has told Senate, you cannot suspend somebody for such a you can suspend. The court did not say they cannot suspend.
Do you expect her to apologize as the court has asked her to?
The court says she has to pay 5 million to the federal government within 7 days and make apology. That's what I said. The court is fair. The only thing the court frowned at is the length. The court did not say that what she did not constitute suspension.
Yeah, I also cited in that judgment that Akpabio was right to have not allowed her speak, since she was not in her rightful seat.
When you're a presiding officer, you take charge of proceedings. Akpabio is the presiding. I have said this in many times. I don't want to dabble into their cases. or their issues. They were once either lovers. Or why are they disturbing my peace?
What you think?
That is
what
the
you suspect.
No, but the thing is, it was alleged. When it was going well for them, nobody told us so. When they were hobnobbing, I don't know, let me use my words, or let me speculate. When they were darling and honeying, they were doing it on their own.
All on you.
When they have issues, they're now trying to bring Nigerians into it. That's why I've said many times, they can go back together tomorrow. Who knows? Politics is a game of interest. And one thing about Nigerians that are too emotional, once they side a particular side, when the other side goes back, they will feel betrayed.
Tell me about Obi and Erufai.
I think
now that's one question we asked before, which I want us to address, because what we have now, we have read out what the court ordered, and now what he said that she's going to resume tomorrow. Okay. So the first question is she to reinstate herself, or it is required by the Senate to recall her and reinstate her? Then secondly, there are some obligations that the court placed on her. Take for instance, she has to pay 5 million naira and also publish apology in 2 national dailies and on her Facebook page. Is she supposed to go back to the Senate without fulfilling this, or she has to fulfill this in first before now talking about her reinstatement?
Very good questions you asked. She cannot recall herself. She cannot reinstate herself. The Senate will be the very body that will reinstate her. And then, if you look at the statement that she will resume tomorrow, she's the one making the statement, or her camp. The woman should know that if you want to do labor unionism, join labor, Nigerian Labor Congress. That is why we are saying that, baby, she knows so much about Ababio. She knows her weaknesses. That's why she's waxing this power. The thing is really intoxicating her. From the judgment of the court says Senate should reinstate her, recall, not her recalling herself or reinstating herself. That is one. No one is greater than an institution, no matter how bad or corrupt that institution is. That is one. Then secondly, you asked another question. There are obligations the court placed before her. You must pay 5 million for contempt, and you must also make public apologies, both on your Facebook, where you wrote that satirical letter, and you ask which one comes first. The Senate, being an institution, the court did not say which one will come first. So the court judgment is silent on which one comes first. But the Senate, being the recalling body, would want to place that first. And I have also listened to the spokesperson of the Senate, that she has to fulfill all these obligations, and then the Senate will now consider recalling her. That's the position of the Senate. But the court did not say, Senate, you must reinstate her before she fulfills those obligations, or you must fulfill those obligations before you are reinstated. The court did not take a position on that. But the Senate, being the recalling body, has taken a position on that, being that the court is silent on it. If court was not silent, the parties do not have choice. If the court says, or had said, recall her first and let her go on and fulfill those obligations, they will just do what the court has said. Otherwise, they will appeal the judgment. So the court is silent on that, and the recalling body, being the Senate, has stated, you have to fulfill this first before we recall you, because the court is silent on it.
All right, then we take a break at this point, attend to a commercial. When we come back, we dive into real political matters. The last 72 hours, like I said earlier when we started, have been a very, very hot one. Do stay.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
Good news and welcome to Winners Global Estate, Heaven in Ogwashuku and Nyocha Local Government Area, Asaba, Delta State. Home sweet home.
Ladies and gentlemen, mamas and papas, Winners Global Estate is here with a special promo package for real winners. Don't miss out in this laudable promo 2025, Heaven on Earth.
Buy, build, live, work, and enjoy. Unlock your dream home of reality. Winners Global Estate is selling fast. 3.5 million, 50 by 100. No more 7 million. Promo price. For booking and more information, please call
081 64404098 or 08037443787. Winners Global Estate. Your security is assured.
Winners and Winners Global Estate.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
Absolutely, the conversation is still on here on the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Just to let you know that we are live on Facebook at Udala Radio 104.7. Go there, join the conversation, drop your comment right under that video, and of course, the post related to the show. And you can also like and follow our page to, keep abreast with all of our content and all of the things that we get to talk about on Udala Radio. Now, we are proceeding to the political space. This story on the Vanguard says, coalition, you won't come back to power. Wike lambasts Amechi. The Ministry of Federal Capital Territory FCT Nyesom Wike slammed the former Minister of Transportation Rotimi Amechi following the latter's defection to the African Democratic Congress ADC. On Wednesday, Amechi officially joined the ADC, a coalition-backed political party spearheaded by former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, along with other opposition politicians, in an effort to unseat President Bola Tinubu come 2027. Amechi declared his interest in contesting for president on the platform of the ADC in the forthcoming election. Now, on that matter of Amechi declaring interest, and of course, Atiku hasn't officially said anything, but last I checked, he said the presidency was some sort of lifelong ambition. Obi yesterday saying that he's not coming to the ADC to be there or run as the vice president, but to contest for presidency. And now word on the street being that everything is going to be decided at the primaries, regardless of the fact that the South still has 4 years to do at Asurok, is one big question hanging out of Amechi's person and personal ambitions. But what happened between Amechi and Wike over the weekend was a lot of things, from the allegations that Wike made. I call them allegations that Amechi was asked how he intends to fund presidency, his presidential campaign. And he went on to say so many things about how he is not like some persons, threw up Wike's name in the conversation. And so in response, Wike came out to say that, well, Amechi was playing on the intelligence of Nigerians. His wife was an industrialist, as Amechi had insinuated, and that he, as a matter of fact, he has proof. He actually called on the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, a number of times in that interview to expose what he called an audit report of what happened in the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, where he alleged that Amechi's wife was being given 4 billion naira yearly to empower Niger Delta women, and that was never done. And so he said that every year Amechi's wife collected 48 billion. That's a huge allegation. Let's start with this presidential ambition theme on the part of Amechi. Do you see this as just some throwing words into a conversation? Do you think that Amechi nursing a presidential ambition should even be coming up at this point in time, knowing fully well that Destination 2027, there are key figures that already played in 2023 that are expected to stand better chances if we're properly positioned? And this entire ADC and Amechi throwing up this talk now, do you think is going to destabilize the ADC in the coming days?
I think what Amechi or Wike, both of them, whatever both of them are saying will not have any effect on the coalition. These two men, we've known them before now. It's a case of political godfather and godson.
No, Wike said that Amechi is not necessarily his godfather.
That's what he will tell you. But then he also agreed that Amechi brought him up politically. There's a difference between Amechi brought me into politics and brought me up politically. Amechi said, yes, he brought him up politically. Not that he brought him into politics. These are two different things.
You know, that term, a person like Wike would beg to differ.
No, he agreed. He agreed. I listened to it.
Going by the things he said concerning how he met Amechi after Amechi had lost an election, and by then he had already won a political office. Is that what you mean by bringing up to the point of maybe his chief of staff as against bringing in?
Okay. When you rise in your career and there's somebody who is instrumental to that, what would you call the person? The person brought you up. It's different from the fact that you rendered one thing or the other that made the person to brought you up. You can render a service to somebody, the person may decide not to even look at you. So yes, I mean, we can render a service, trying to ensure that his mandate, when he contested that primaries in 2007, that primary result were stolen. We can join forces with Amechi to ensure that he regain what rightly belongs to him. There are those who did the same with for Amechi. There are many people that did the same for Amechi, but Amechi may not have taken interest to bring them up politically, but he took interest in Wike. So he brought Wike up politically, agreed by everybody, agreed by every party. Now, we've seen both men showing is a dance, their kind of surrogate dance is becoming alarming. For me, he has been a relentless orchestration of mutual political self-immolation masquerading as public service. It's just an unyielding spectacle of ego-driven brickmanship played out of the crumbling altar of River State dignity. These two men, they have shown a gladiatorial exhibition of personalized vendetta dropped in the regalia of public governance. I can go on to tell you stories about these two men, but the most important thing is that what I have been doing has become a nauseous theater of reciprocal antagonism that reduces statecraft to street level squabbling, bringing in family issues, my wife, your this and your that. And if you look at it, many of them can easily be entrapped in such aqua, in such circle. If you want to get at Amechi, bring him on here and raise issues about Wike. You've got on his nerves. The same applies to Wike. Get him on. Bring issues about Amechi. You've got on his nerves. You see them explode and implode at the same time. So the point I'm trying to make here is this: whatever they are doing would not affect ADC. It's just for political relevance. Game of wit. Somebody's trying to outwit the other person. Many of them have been in power, and Wike had been in power since 1999 to date. His own is non-stop. From 1999, Wike has been in power as a local government chairman. From being a local government chairman down to chief of staff, from chief of staff to minister of state education, from minister of state education to minister, from minister to governor of River State, from governor of River State back to minister. He has not for one day since 1999 remained out of power. That's from Wike. For Amechi, his own stopped in 2003. He has been in power from 1999 down to 2003. So by calculation, Wike could be 2 years ahead of Amechi when it comes to being in power. His own has been unbroken, and Amechi could not contend the fact that he's out of power for just 2 years. So if you move forward, you can quite agree with me that the issue of the wives, Amechi was trying to make a point, trying to say that he married an Anambra woman. An Anambra woman is known for what? Hardworking, business-minded. And the wife, according to Amechi, was selling wares right in the government house. I'm trying to say that the wife nearly, we didn't imply that anyway, but people implied that to say that maybe the wife is the breadwinner. In fact, the anchor of that program asked him, was your wife or is your wife the breadwinner? So there was a way he darted around it. But the point remains that he said the wife is almost an industrialist. He didn't say the wife is an industrialist. I think his words were, my wife is an almost industrialist, trying to show that the wife had been in business. I married this Anambra woman, and this, that, and this one who hustles a lot. So you can't ask me for funds. Literally, there were times he had admitted that the wife lent him money, gave him money in form of loan, whether he paid back or not. So the point is, Wike coming because he has something against Amaechi. That Amaechi can't just come out and tell Nigerians that he's hungry and angry. That how can you be hungry and angry when you were in power for almost 20, how many years? 24 years or 20 or 23 years or thereabout. So these two men, that's what what I feel. For me, it has been a Shakespearean tragedy of ambition and betrayal reenacted endlessly in the public square between these two men. And Amaechi trying to correct, or Wike trying to bust whatever lies. He said, who told you? Who said so? And saying their wife was never an industrialist. That if for you to be an industrialist, you should be manufacturing something. If you are selling from the manufacturer and to the end user, you are not a manufacturer, you are not an industrialist. You are just an ordinary business person or trader. That you should admit. You don't call your wife an industrialist. But Amaechi said, my wife is an almost an industrialist. So if someone is an almost an industrialist, does it also imply that the person is an industrialist? But we can say in any NDDC, 4 billion was allocated to your wife through that program where she was meant to empower women, and at the end of the day nothing come out of it. That you can imagine giving a woman 4 billion monthly. That, see, from the look of things, these two men have been not just taking what should have gone to the people, to their private coffers, to their private families. And he said he's not a poor man. That Wike said he came from a rich background. That his father has a lot of companies. And we dare Wike to list those companies that your father has. So we can go on and on. Just like I said, leave these two men. They know themselves. They know themselves quite well.
Okay, so totally, because we are coming from how this whole thing started and then where we are now. Because ever since the opposition men came under the coalition of ADC, Wike has been, he has been speaking on several platforms, and any platform he seizes, he uses it to attack some of these very persons. And we know that each time we see politicians having conflict, that's when we get to know what is hidden. Because this issue of NDDC, which he said the president should release the audited report, and if there's nothing like that, if there's not like 4 billion there for the wife of Amaechi, that he's going to resign. How we wish that the government of the day would go on to release that, so that we'll see what is going to happen. But now where I'm going to is I want to understand why Wike is attacking everybody. I know Wike has attacked Araboshola. He has attacked Dele Momodu. He said Momodu came to his house and was eating, and food was falling off from his mouth. That he was in his house for about 1 week. Momodu has already written to the television station demanding for right of reply. So we might see his own version in the coming days. Then Wike has also attacked Peter Obi, saying that his time has gone, and so many other persons he has attacked. Why is he attacking everybody? Is it because of the fact that he has an unfinished business with the government of the day, or there's any other interest he's trying to protect?
You have said it all. So for you have made the point that could it be that he has an unfinished business, or there's a contract, or there's something he's doing for his present government. And meanwhile, Wike is not the Minister of Information. He has arrogated that power to himself. In fact, Wike is serving as the spokesperson for APC, Minister of Information, and at the same time Minister of Federal Capital, taking 3 jobs at the same time. He found that the people who are supposed to be doing this are not doing enough, that this is pure politics, and what Wike is doing is pure politics. And for me, Nyesom Wike, the self-anointed emperor of noise and theatrics, has mastered the dark art of political grandstanding so well that one might mistake bluster for brilliance. He parades his bloated ego like a crown jewel, making volume for vision and belligerence for boldness. A man of relentless verbosity and theatrical tantrums. He thrives on televised turbulence. He likes showing up this from time to time. A personal gladiator of our time in a stadium of mirrors, where the only reflection he sees is his own inflated importance. That's wicked for you. So I can go on and define wicked with different adjectives. And sometimes people, I don't want to use demeaning words. I don't want you to use words that may not be good here. But the point remains that he thinks he's making Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but in reverse, he could be destroying the president.
He said he's serving in the government of President Ahmed Bola Tinubu because he believes in his ability to deliver dividends of democracy to Nigerians. Does this hold water? Do you think Mr. President has the ability to deliver dividends of democracy to Nigerians?
Nigerians will tell you. If you go to the street, ask Nigerians this question: whether the president has the capacity to deliver. I may sit down here and tell you, yes, he has. But do Nigerians also say, yes, he has? So that question is entirely for Nigerians. Are they seeing good governance? Are they seeing dividends of democracy? Wike is just playing politics. And for him, these are his political detractors, his political arch enemies, and he's doing everything possible to bring them down. And if these people succeed, he will go into oblivion. You want to take the sugar away from his mouth, so you want another person to win, so that the sugar he has now will be taken away. So he's doing everything, but he's doing it in a way, in an approach that is not really normal. He's going about it in an overbearing manner, disturbing the polity.
So do you think his appointment was needless? Because yesterday I listened to the Anglican Bishop of, or rather the Vicar of St. James Anglican Church Asokoro in Abuja, Benny Dume, during that very Thanksgiving, and he said that Mr. President is a visionary leader for him to have appointed Wike as FCT minister because he knew that Wike was going to perform.
Check who is the guest, or who was the guest at that very place. Who was the guest?
Wike was there.
What do you expect? He was just saying those things to massage his ego. And one thing about Wike is this: once you massage his ego, you've got so much to gain. He's the only minister that has a band that follows him, a praising band. In the history of this country, there is no minister, even from First Republic to present time, no minister has a praising or a kind of band that sings praises to him whenever he talks. He has a band. He has a group of people that he has. Wike would be good as an artist, a musician, a performing musician. Look at his dancing steps. Who's we've seen this from time to time. It's something he careered from River State down to Minister of FCT. Mr. President has told you that Wike is one of the best performing ministers he has. That he's privileged to have somebody
from Abuja.
If you talk about the scorecard, what is Wike's performance in the area of health? What is Wike's performance in the area of education? Teachers on strike. Health. So Wike is grandstanding. I'm not here. My own is to speak the truth. The key things that shows your performance when it comes to governance, we have Millennium Development Goals, and we have different agendas. One, you talk about security, you talk about schools, that's education, you talk about health, you talk about the welfare of the people. Then before you now talk about infrastructure, Wike goes all out to look at those infrastructures which from every calculation is for the elitists. What about the people who are from the 6 council areas in Abuja, Buhari, and so many of them? So I'm not here to judge him. People that will judge him will be those who are from Abuja. So, but key thing remains that we've seen teachers being on strike in FCT, and we've seen so many health facilities, primary health care centers not working. So, and this is a man that has commissioned so many elitist projects in 17 days, every day for one project. And when I ask this, most times we are lazy, we are docile in this country. Nobody's asking questions. I've not seen anywhere in this world, wide world, where a project is listed for commissioning for 17 days, and it's going to be public funds that will be used to commission. And so
the same project for 17 days, Tony.
Let me tell you something.
Or different projects for 17 days.
Different projects for 17 days, and these projects are ready. You now chronologically structure them each day for commissioning. Those praise singers, even the band, even those invited guests, you think nothing will give it to them? Why wouldn't you use a day to commission all this project and save funds?
All right,
Nobody's saying that, and nobody has questioned Wike. These projects we are commissioning, how much? He built Tinubu Conference Center with 39 billion. That's a huge sum, and people have questioned him. He says that very dome, that very conference center has donated how much?
You know, that's one of the questions that we asked
about
yesterday.
600 something million.
600, that's what he said, and say he's going to generate more. The question is, that very dome was built with how much when it was conceived around 1992? I know I've made statements about this. I'm not here to judge Wike. My own is to speak the truth.
Now,
what should we say?
Talk about speaking the truth, because I'm looking at what the American bishop said. Because to talk about speaking truth to power, and we see this very clearly at the conscience of society, that no matter whose ox is called, they must seek truth to power. But he looked him in the face and said that he's been performing wonders, that the president is the visionary to have appointed him as a minister. So that's where I'm coming from, because how do we now situate that? Because if Wike can be in the church and the man of God tells him, you are doing wonderfully well, of course he's going to go out and leave the arena believing that he is doing wonderfully well, that he's delivering dividend of democracy. Now let's talk about the strike of teachers. I think he made a point sometimes saying that teachers are striking FCT wasn't his own making, because in the FCT, the council area chairmen, they are the most independent chairmen in the country, that they have their free hand to operate and run their business, and they are the ones who are responsible for paying primary school teachers in that very FCT, but they have failed to do that. So he's only coming in as an interventionist. I think as of Thursday or Friday, there was this very meeting they had where the council chairmen were there, nuns, teachers were there, and at the end of the day, they had an agreement whereby he's going to withhold some percentage of their allocation of their IGR, and he's going to use that. He's going to use the IGR, I think, for 6 months. He's going to use it to offset whatever the teachers have been, or I think about 70% of that. So if we look at how he's been able to carry himself, what he has said that he's been able to do, so what stopped the cleric from telling him to his face that there are issues, in as much as you are doing this, but these are the things that are not going right?
I don't want to, we are taking so much time to talk about Wike, but because you're asking, I'm going to answer. I have no option. Now to answer some of the questions you raised. Why wouldn't the cleric tell Wike some of these things you mentioned? He wouldn't say those things, because most of our clerics, they have become tools in the hands of politicians.
Who pays the piper dictates the tune.
And many of them, they are looking at what the politician will give them at the end of the day. Let's look at some of the projects Wike. Some of the projects Wike has built or commissioned in Abuja, I call them elitist project. He talk about the Southern Express Park, he renamed Bola Tinubu Way. We talk about Wuye Bridge interchange, elitist project. Abuja Light Rail, elitist project. Even after Southern Expressway, in fact, BC's Constitution Avenue, B12 and all that, elitist project. Vice Presidential Official Residence, elitist project. You can go on. You talk about the launch of over 12 rural roads and bridges in 6 area councils, like that's the launch, and then he hasn't done anything on that. But then there was so much ceremonies in the launch. But let's look at what matters to the people. What matters to the people? Primary school teachers under the FCT 6 area councils. Do you know when they began their strike? They began their strike, an indefinite strike, on March 24, 2025, and we are right in July. And before being on strike that very day, there was a prior strike, more like a warning strike, that was far back around 13th of February in 2025. What are these teachers demanding? They are demanding full implementation of the 70,000 naira minimum wage and arrears inclusion. And you said that the local council chairmen are responsible for this and all that they shouldn't have paid it. And as FCT minister, we are this local government chairman, though independent but answerable to you, under your council. Schools are closed. Schools are closed as a minister for non-full implementation of 70,000 naira minimum wage, and you are busy dancing and commissioning all manner of elitist projects, and then telling us that 39 billion spent in that reconstruction. Just 1/12 1/20th of it will solve this problem of 1/20 of it will solve this problem, because he sees to ensure that these councils, they have their funds through the jack account. That is, by the way, are you also aware that the 270 primary healthcare centers across the 6 area councils in Abuja have been closed for over 2 months? Are you aware? 270 primary healthcare centers. If you ask me, he will tell you we have the council chairman. They are the ones responsible. But as a minister, what did you do? The nurses are on strike. Health workers protesting on paid wages, allowances, and so many things like that. In fact, I don't want to go on and on and on. And this is a place when the same cleric did not see these striking nurses, do not see these striking health workers, do not see these striking teachers, and the cleric said, you have been performing wonders. I give it to the cleric because his pocket is more important than the preaching or that the truth he should be speaking to, especially when those in government comes around. So Wike has said, yes, I have convened a meeting, I have called this council chairman, I've called these teachers, and we have had. Why are you doing it so late? Why haven't you since March? If you have a child, if Wike's child, or probably his niece, or anybody, his cousin were to be in primary schools or secondary schools in those areas, would have been fair enough to be doing Enyende by using praising or all these former of sycophantic bands? A minister that uses the president, in fact, the president has his own band, which is from military. But Wike has his own sycophantic band, and watch the videos, and he has his own is to attack this person today. I'm not here to speak about Wike, because if you say so, some people will say, you talk so much, probably we are going to use you to, these things are immaterial. We are concerned about the people, how they are faring.
We are going to definitely take a break at this point. Attend to some commercials. When we come back, we take a look at some of the things that former Labour Party presidential candidate of 2023 and former Anambra State Governor, Mr. Peter Obi, said yesterday. And right from there, we're going to also take a look at what Labour has said regarding taking matters that concern Labour away from exclusive list and all of those other matters arising. There's been a security update from the police PPRO of Anambra State. We're also going to quickly take a look at that right after this break. Do stay.
You're listening to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
Quality bread, Wendy's bread, for your family breakfast. Wendy's bread, our package and the yellow. Wendy's bread, mama, papa, they like Wendy's bread, not chicken and do. Wendy's bread, even children, they like Wendy's bread. Wendy's bread, minta. Wendy's bread, you get the better tasty, we go sweet your belly. Wendy's bread, Wendy's your battery choma. Wendy's bread, the champion.
Wendy's bread, your tasty bread. You can contact us on our official address, 2nd Business Park, Enugu Road, GRA, beside Onitsha, Anambra State. We also have another branch at St. Michael Plaza at Tani Road. Also contact us on 070-1149-1571. Wendy's bread, your tasty bread.
Wendy's bread.
Except you build a house, the builders build it big. Crusade, crusade, crusade. Yes, so this one a mega once in a lifetime kind of crusade. House of Sublime Properties Limited, the reigning real estate company known for zero problems, invites you to this land crusade with theme Gospel of Lands Crusade. If you have bought land anywhere and you are experiencing any problems or challenges, this crusade is for you. Highlights, connections, business deals, relationship meetings, first-class entertainment, plus many other things. Date, Sunday, 20th of July, 2025. Venue, Night of St. Christopher Hall, All Saints Cathedral, opposite Red Cross, Onitsha. Time, 12 noon prompt. Come and get your breakthroughs. Get fee, free of charge.
For inquiries, call Bishop on 081 36 40 4171, 081 036404171.
Come one, come all. House of Sublimes Properties Limited. Your peace of mind.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
We are quickly going to proceed to some of the things that Mr. Peter B said yesterday during his interview. If you just joined us, this is a Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. We are live on Facebook at Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Now, 2023 Labour Party presidential candidate has confirmed he will run for presidency 2027. He has also dismissed speculations that he may become the running mate to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. He stated this during an interview yesterday, and he said a couple of other things. He critically looked at certain things that he would do differently if he becomes president. But let's look at that speculation, especially also where he made a couple of statements, Tony, concerning still being a member of the LP, and then also being in this coalition. Dati Baba Ahmed also did say some days ago he's still in the LP, but he is eyeing the coalition. In Obi's case, he's in the LP, but he's already in the coalition. And also he said that if he was to be the president, if he were to be the president, he would make sure that there is formidable opposition in the party. And the big question is, your party, in fact the two parties you have belonged to in this president's Aso Rock bid, have both been in the opposition, and they have both been in disarray. What have you been able to do?
We're going to talk about being in Labour Party and at the same time having another leg on ADC. Recall that when ADC was launched and some of them resigned from their previous parties and then get registered under ADC, there are those that did not do that. And for those who did not resign from their previous party and have not been registered under ADC, it means that they are members of that very Labour Party, but they are just pushing the coalition. And then by the time the political stage is very quite apt, everybody will choose a location, because our laws do not entail you be a member of two political parties. Our laws do not entail that. You would have to be a member of just one political party. For the fact that ADC, as presently constituted, is a political party, whenever, I think what would be, if you describe him now, he's a member of coalition, he's not a member of ADC. But where is coalition domiciled? ADC. Can you be a member of, let me use this analogy, you cannot be a member of a particular order that has bordered a particular train without being in that train. It's very difficult. So that's the point I'm trying to make. So he has to decide within time. And let me say this, P2B is no sense, and in a way, give it to him. Many Nigerians are idolizing him as a saint and someone who is bringing something different from these politicians and all that. And look at, Wike said he has no democratic principle. His time has gone. His time is over. But for anyone listening, may take that statement to be a political statement. P2B under 8 years conducted local council election at the 8th year, the time he will be leaving. And according to Wike said he did not conduct at all. I think it's just misplacement. Our own here is to speak the truth. He conducted council election, but he did that at the very period he was about leaving. And Wike said he has no democratic principle. Somebody who has no who was governor for the local government, who was everything for the state, and now he's preaching you democratic principle. And many of you don't know him. And many of you act on emotion. That's according to Wike in that Thanksgiving yesterday. But we have talked about that most times. I'm just saying, yes, P2B is no sense. Just like we always say here, among or between two evils, there could be a lesser evil, or amongst a gang of criminals, there could be someone amongst them who has a conscience. So I want to state it here, because from much I've known about him, he's not that set, many of you think. But one could also adjudge he could be a lesser evil. And based on proven tracks and proven records, he's talking about the president of this country being compassionate, why would he spend 150 billion naira for a jet when he knows that people are hungry? I think he raised that issue yesterday. That is unconscionable and conscienceless for a president to think of such. But meanwhile, remember the Nigerian Boeing 737 has been enlisted for auctioning. I saw that very news, and then there's a company handling that. Mr. President, the very jet that was bought in 2005 by President Olusegun Obasanjo, Boeing 737, has been put up for sale by Nigerian president. I don't know why government is doing that, but then we're told that the jet is about 20 years old. It was bought brand new, but that's not what we're talking about. So people were saying that as a president, why wouldn't he just travel using commercial flights? And remember, from what we've been told, he has been using economy class. For those who are conversant with traveling, you have first class, you have business class, you have economy class, and the prices are too wide when it comes to differentials. And this man, the wife will fly business class, he will choose to fly economy class. Not that he cannot afford it, but for him, he feels that it's a wastage. What economy class will do, business, or what business class will do, economy class will do. That is his kind of values. I think the only thing going well for him is that he has a different value system. He has a different orientation. And Nigerians marvel at this orientation. And these are the kind of orientations Nigerians would want to be entrenched in our political system. I think that's the only thing that goes for him. He has demonstrated that. He has shown that. And there were times, whenever there is any form of natural disaster, you will be the first person to visit there. Earlier say, you won't come to my state because you are doing political charity. And he told earlier, I've been doing this. Even when Trinidad and Tobago had their own earthquake, I was there even as a common person, as a governor. That he went, in fact, he met the former president Jonathan to ensure that Nigeria does what it should do. So there are so many things Nigerians love about him. And if you come out to the market to be now, you become the sacrificial lamb.
But Wike said his time has passed.
And if you look at the comments, look at the way Nigerians are bombarding Wike. For some of us, we see him, maybe he has the grace. But I have also maintained that he's not a saint.
He had never claimed a saint. As a matter of fact, at some part in that interview, the interviewer asked him, are you a saint? Which are you, Gregory or Peter? Sent who? And he said he's not a saint. As a matter of fact, he understands that there are flaws as a human, but he spoke so glowingly about the entire thing being a journey, and all he needs to do is to be on the right path in the 4 years that he is insisting that he is going to only be in Aso Rock for. He said he only needs one term. I use the exact allusion he used. He said, if I tell you I am going to Kano, but you find me on the road to Lagos, it means there is a problem. And so if I tell you that the destination is a better Nigeria, the policies I make should be able to show you that I'm on the right track. Fixing power, he said, if I'm able to do, say, 8,000 megawatts, adding to the 4,000 that we have been able to do in over 16 years, I think that's a path to the destination, which is steady power supply for Nigeria. And so now the big question is, for me, outside of the promises being made, because to be very honest with you, I do not hold I don't have so much faith in promises being made, because I believe that the fight is always easier from outside the ring. When Obi gets into Aso Rock, if Obi gets into Aso Rock, let's see how he does it. That's where you see actually what his skills are going to be. But hold on a second, Tony. I am curious to find out if you think that he would be, especially with all this gossip or rumor about the primaries happening, this ADC coalition is majorly being championed by Atiku Abubakar. Do you think that ADC is going to shelve this idea of a common primary and see that the best man stand, or the best man who has a politicking power in that circle? Or is the ADC going to say, who is the best man for Nigeria, for Nigerians as a matter of fact? Who is that one man that if we all field, Nigerians are generally going to accept? Who is that one man that in the conscience of equity, of federal character, that we are going to field?
Politicians don't think that way. They have their personal interests.
So don't you think that's a problem brewing for the APC?
It could be a problem. They don't think that way. Politicians are not thinking for the betterment of the society. And the only thing they have in common now is to make sure that they dislodge President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
I was asking you about how they will do it.
That is one thing they have within themselves. And if they can think who can be that candidate that if we forward, that will help dislodge him. If they think in that line and come up with a zoning system that will make sure, because their primary target is to make sure that APC does not come back in 2027. That is their primary target. But they have their personal ambitions. But if they can shelve their personal ambitions and work towards this primary target, they may have a better way. And Obi said something yesterday that I think he said that if he becomes the president, the North will celebrate him. I heard him saying something like that. And then he said something like that the North, he understands their challenges and then their trust and then many things that they have been passing through. He was saying that North remains on tap potential. The biggest asset of this country, according to him, is in the North, with 19 states, vast arable lands, numerical voter strength, and what have you. So even the question is, can Obi tell us how would you solve insecurity in the North? If he comes and tell us that, because I remember
he said he would declare war. Even
if you declare war, because we know that war alone may not solve the problem. We've seen those who have been in guerrilla war style for 10 years, 20 years. What will be the carrot approach?
He also mentioned community policing.
Apart from community, that's the stick approach. What is the carrot approach? What are the triggers of this insecurity? Because if you don't address the triggers of this insecurity...
He mentioned education.
Are they willing to accept education? Because North is a very difficult place. You may want to give them education, but they may not want to accept it. What kind of education would they want to accept? Jonathan tried it, it failed. Built Amajori schools. So these things are not either here or there. But just like I've said, there is always a lesser evil. And then if you talk about each of our power, having all manner of, how would it be solve our perennial power crisis? How would we also solve the issue of corruption?
Well, he said he went to Egypt for the
can he look at his party men and the coalition members and then ensure that they subject themselves to anti-graft agencies? Can he give them that independence? See, these things are many, but just like I say, this Nigerian problem is not very easy. It will take strong political strength, and for him, he has said that he has 1 year to serve. And anybody who wants to solve Nigerian problem must have it within himself that you must have 1 year. You may not come back. Not because you are constrained. You do this work. You know that you may have stepped on toes, you may have built the foundation, you have raised certain bars, but you may not come back. If you don't have a mind to just do one just term and forget about second term, if it doesn't come, you may not solve Nigeria's problem.
Okay, just one question before we go to the phone lines, because the only way that political clout that Obi enjoys now can be guaranteed under the coalition is if he matches the presidential candidate. That's the only way they can be guaranteed of the obedient vote in bulk. If he becomes the VP to anybody, or if he fails to be on the ballot on that very coalition, the votes of the obedient that they are banking on, they're as good as gone. That's number one. The number two is this, because he spoke about a lot of things yesterday, different questions coming from different dimensions, and but there's one thing that people are saying, which we can look into now. They said, you are in association with people who failed Nigeria in the past, and that is saying that bad company corrupt good manners, and you are in coalition with them now, and if they are going to concede the seat to you, you must compromise. So if that becomes the case, how are we sure that when you get that leadership mantle, you'll be able to replicate that sentient quote
and not the cabals
which you have paraded? Because we know the way politics is done in Nigeria. It's transactional, and if anybody is going to step aside for you, there must be something on plate for that very person.
Something must give
to give out, to give up whatever is his ambition.
And what kind of National Assembly probably is he going to work with? If he stand tall, they will impeach him. He will be just there for some months. He will get impeached. And if he doesn't play policies the way they would want him to play politics, even if he does some sacrifices and tell them to do some, what if they are not willing to do some?
Obi said that these men are willing. They know they have failed. They know they have failed. they are willing to make things right. If I'm going to I'm trying. I recall he said something about some even top organizations in the world employing people from failed organizations because they have already tasted failure. They know what leads to failure, so they know what not to do to prevent another failure.
The issue is this: he can't speak for them. He cannot speak for these men that fail Nigeria.
Are you afraid that his government may be hijacked by cabals?
The worst is, we've seen most times when they incite people against their government, we saw what Jonathan had good intention. What happened to him? What happened to him? The point is...
Or is it possible that Mr. B becomes the president, and you look at all the coalition members, if he becomes the president, is it possible that he will, these men were going to bring the list of ministers, and he will look in defense saying
that is politics. They will have their own quota, but maybe he may give them 6 months or 1 year. If they're not performing, he can get them off. Remember when Buhari came in 1981? We had the Diabon, and we had war against indiscipline, because then the country was totally indisciplined. So we had a war.
There have been big questions about that.
That is the point. And when Nigerians, the orientation was introduced that if you come to a public space, you must queue on the line for you. You can't just jump the queue. You can't even cut corner trying to instill discipline. How long did their governments last? But if you look at the government, people shouted that the government was biased in the sense that there were those imprisoned. There are those for whatever reason you kept, because likes of Yaradua, Chegari, who was the then president, was under house arrest, and then the vice president Ekweme was put in Kirikiri prison. So if you look at it, people felt that there was level of there was an uneven treatment to this man, and people grew some kind of animosity towards the government, and then people started shouting at the government. See, the truth remains that I have said it many times. If you have two evils, there could be a lesser one. So he's not sent. He has shown intent. He has shown commitment to solve the Nigerian problem. The question is, has he the capacity? And there are people in this country that can do things like that, but they may not come from emotional appeal, because he has tried in using emotional appeal to get to people's support. But there are people that may not want that or may not go in that line. But the truth remains that the coalition people talk about, because of his involvement, that's why many Nigerians are supporting the coalition. Outside that, they may not.
In a minute, what do you think about labor issues being removed from exclusive legislative list?
I have said this thing last time here. If you remove the issue of, if you bring in the issue of minimum wage down to the recurrent legislative list, it does not take away the fact that we can still have a national minimum wage. It doesn't take away. People don't understand how these things work.
So you think it's okay?
Yes, let the states at a point negotiate what they can pay to their workers and come up with a law. But their law will not be in total contrast with the federal law.
The fear is that if states are given the power for them to legislate on labor issues, that in fact the condition of Nigerian workers is going to become worse than it is now.
That's not
because, for instance, Anambra could say we're going to pay workers 70,000 as the minimum wage.
Okay.
Enugu might say no, we don't have that very much. We're going to pay 40,000, and then Rivers will say we're going to pay 150 because we have the resources. And Lagos might say that. Then for those states who do not have leaders who listen to the emotions of the people or who listen to their plight, workers in that very state could be at the mercy of the governors. That's the concern that Labour is expressing at this point.
Labour should understand one thing in this life, that you don't choose what suits you and reject the one that does not suit you. We are clamoring for true federalism. And if we are clamoring for true federalism, states should also have powers to negotiate certain things. You can't be saying state police at one end. You can't be saying community police at one end. You can't be saying this, and the other time you are saying they cannot negotiate this. Whatever fear you have, once there is a federal law, if you look at the Constitution, Section 1, Subsection 3 says, any other law that is inconsistent with the provisions of this Constitution, to the extent that is for the Constitution. And it goes on to say that any other state law that is inconsistent with the federal law, to the extent of its inconsistency, remain null and void.
Right.
The most important thing is we have Administration of Criminal Acts that was enthroned in 2015. All the states, some of them have domesticated it, and some still have the penal and criminal codes system working for them. And the most important thing is the fact that there should be a federal legislation on this, and the state should be asked to work towards their legislation to be in somehow conformity with the federal legislation. So you can challenge state law, especially when it is in total variance with the federal law. See, if we are speaking about true federalism, let us speak about it in all encompassing, not in parts or in silos.
Put a call across to 0803-221-6973, 0803-827-6694 to join the conversation. Keep it as constructive as possible, straight to the point. You have only 2 minutes. Good morning.
Wonderful morning to you, lady of the house.
Good morning.
Franklin, good morning. Dr. Olisa Mbeki, good morning.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Honorable DK, and I'm calling you from Onitsha.
Go ahead, DK.
Thank you so much. I think those in the coalition know better than we do. I mean, the principal people involved, they knew that there's only one man that can restore power, or one man Nigerian law, or one man that enjoys the grace. They were in Nigeria. They have, even if after Nigeria, within the 2020 elections, they really know that the man pulled a very big weight. If not for talks like it is from Yakub Mahmoud and his brother Festus Okoye, the man would have been the president of Nigeria today. So they know a man that contested for the first time gathered not less than 6 million votes, over 6 million votes. So I think that was what they credited to him, but we know what happened behind the scenes. So I think they know better than we do, and they know that this is the only man that could be able to remove power from the outgoing president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, come 2027. Because all statistics on ground that the moment His Excellency Mr. Titobi emerges as the ADC flag bearer or the coalition flag bearer, I mean, every other thing is just around the corner. So I think they really knew, and they know that he's the son of the South. Okay, he's the son of the South, and Mr. His Excellency has promised to govern for or to rule for 4 years. Power returns to the North, so they cannot be that foolish to begin to, compromise or begin to bring in one selfish interest or the other. All these things have been reached, so we are waiting for the primary or whatever they are going to do for His Excellency to emerge, and that is when you are going to see stronger position. Let me tell you the truth. Even before 2027, Mr. President may even throw in the towel, because it's better to quit when the reason is loud. Thank you so much.
All right then. Thank you for your contribution. Let's hear what you have to say. 0803-827-6694. Good morning.
Yeah, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Chidi Chukuma reaching you from board this morning.
Go ahead, please.
And good morning to you, Dr. Olisa Mbeki.
You're welcome.
And the Franklin and Chisom. Good morning.
Go ahead.
Yes, let me speak on this weakest statement. I don't want any comparison between Peter and Wike. It's just like Ijola alone. And I don't know how many Nigerians that can take Wike serious now. People have known him. Everybody here have known him. The only people that project him, most of them are from the South. I must tell you, if you go to North, nobody talk about Wike and all that he's doing. The politics is playing here in Nigeria is one of the most dirtiest politics in Nigeria, and some people are comfortable with that. That is why Nande cannot describe Nigeria as a rogue country where people promote criminal elements. This is what he said. So I don't want any comparison with him. P2B is almost a saint, almost holy man, and it is all in his family. If you go to his family, one of them are reverend. No father, Roman Catholic reverend, you know the kind of sacrifice here. And another one is a reverend sister in only one family. So P2B, anything about materialism, you can't see him here. What is Wike doing? What is his actual business? He's a lawyer. How many times have he appeared in the court to defend the case? Where did he get all the money that he's spending? Somebody said that he bought a Rolls Royce. What is his salary? And then people are talking about him. Then on the issues of this thing that is going on here, I think the Natasha, it's supposed to allow him to serve that 6 months so that her head will cool. Because if we bring him back, it may be that he will continue that war, gender war in a hollow chamber. That is not why his people voted her. So let her stay for 6 months. Then when they recall her, he will know that it's her duty. That is my take on this issue. Good morning.
All right.
Let's hear you. Good morning. Are you there? Oh, okay. Good morning.
Badmos, Onoha, from Mewi.
Go ahead, Badmos.
Good. Let me sound it very clear. If the North sincerely support P2B to be the ADC candidate, if they sincerely support him, and he emerged as the presidential candidate of that party, that coalition, and they support him in the ballot, I think P2B might defeat Tinubu. If the North is ready to support P2B wholeheartedly, he will defeat Tinubu completely. But the problem is this: will the North support P2B the way they did during the time of Muhammadu Buhari? This is a very big question. If they can do the way they did when Buhari was contesting in 2015, then I bet you that P2B will defeat Tinubu. But if they are not sincere about it, I don't see him winning. But let's keep on watching, because what I know is this: if at the end of the day, Atiku, all the northern allies now step down for P2B to emerge as a candidate of that ADC, it will be a very big contest for Tinubu. Tinubu will have it hot. That's the area I'm seeing it. But winning the election, defeating Tinubu on the 2007 election will depend on the sincerity and the ferocious nature the North is going to take the action. If they mean it and they are ready to stick their head for it, the way they did during Buhari, Tinubu will leave the office. But if they did not support him, if they are supporting him maybe in a hanky-panky way, some will vote for Tinubu, some like this, what Kwankwaso is doing now. Yeah, I don't. If not really support P2B to be here, at the end of the day, go and mark it somewhere. The winning, P2B becoming the president of this country, will start from Kwankwaso rejecting the offer Tinubu is giving him. The day you hear that Kwankwaso rejected all the offers Tinubu gave to him and joined the coalition, just write it down that anybody, for instance, if P2B becomes the presidential candidate of ADC, he is going to win the president of this country. And I want to ask, lastly, did Goodluck Jonathan promise in any interview, do we have any interview where Goodluck Jonathan said that
I have to let you go at this point. You've exceeded your 2 minutes mark. Please put your thoughts together and put everything out in 2 minutes. Good morning.
Thank you. Chisom, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Franklin.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Tony Mbeki, the speaker.
You're welcome.
This is Honorable Monday Johnson. I'm calling in now from Ugwabogoti. Actually, going by my own political calculation, I think the North will support P2B because Erufai commands a lot of northern people. They obey him. Most of the northerners obey him. And the former president, Buhari, from the look of things, has been maintaining silence like has gone into political war. But I am believing that the man will not throw his weight behind Tinubu, because the last election he maintained the same silence and allowed all the contestants to actually do their best. So this time around, going by the visitation he has been receiving, people going to him, or not being around him, I believe he is not going to support Tinubu. So going by that, I think Obi will have it all. Then, on the issue of this gentleman agreement, to me, Obi saying that he will just be there for 4 years and leave, that is not constitutional. What Nigerians need at this point in time is good government. So if Obi goes there and perform well, and the next tenor, you are telling me that the same thing that happened to Jonathan will happen to him, Obi is different from Jonathan. So let's put our finger crossed and pray that God choose him this time to manage for 4 years, and then we sample what he comes with, then leave Nigerians to decide in the next election, because that gentleman agreement is unconstitutional. Good morning.
Good morning. Let's hear what you have to say. Hello, good morning. Okay, I think you need to reconnect. 08038276694. Good morning. Are you there? Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, my name is Basil, calling from Onitsha.
Go ahead, please, Basil.
Thank you. Let me click on the issue of next weekend. At least Winter is crying more than the jury. I don't know why Winter should be crying this way. Immediately they were unveiling the APC coalition. Winter has been crying. And I asked myself, why is Winter crying this way? Did Winter have something hiding? They have become the spokesman of APC, the spokesman of PDP, the spokesman of all the political parties in Nigeria. And I asked, is Winter the only politician in Nigeria? He's now saying that he's going to resign if our president can be able to bring out the account of this NNPC. And I asked myself, what of Ababio? If Ababio, is he going to resign equally if Ababio signed Christie? Because I can remember the off the mic scenario. Off the mic. What has he done about it? He only says something when something is going against him. If something is going against him, he's crying like a kid. And I hear what Sapito is saying this today. Our people are dying every year as we are commissioning it. It's not better than human beings. If those things is commissioning bigger than human beings, he can't go there and see those people are dying and we are commissioning roads. God, as rather as Olisa Mbeki said, it's just elite project. This is an elite project. It's not for the masses. It is not for the masses. Protect the land and property of the masses. That is what we need. It's not all this road. Road is very important. Other things is very good. But life, folks, you can count on life. If you do not count on life, who is going to apply that today? Who is going to apply it?
Okay, we have to let you go at this point.
Okay,
your point is quite clear. Good morning. Please go straight to the point.
My name is Comrade Walton. I'm calling you from Oba.
So this in a minute. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. You see, yes, when we have always stated it here that the media are giving this guy unnecessary attention. You understand? Look at a public office holder. Look at the way he talks. At the way he arrests himself. Even that church where the Thanksgiving is, I was looking at the presiding priest, showering praises on him. I don't blame all these people. They're looking for money. And the other speaker who compared the Wike with the P2B, with the aging order, it is even the fact that that comparison is suitable. It's like comparing, Mr. Big Shawarma with a pack of sheep. So these are the people, that the system enabled to operate the way they are. If Nigeria is a third country, people like Wike should be in free the guy now. He should be in jail. That is where they belong. You know, some people have even accused him of being a drug. Even if you look at the way he talks, the way that accusation or that allegation seems to be true. A public office holder, look at the way he talks. So, I blame the system that gives him, that enables him to talk the way he talks. But all the time, an individual telling somebody, coming to tell us that this person cannot be the president. Who gave him that so that he make such statements? Which means there is something he knows that we don't know, that somebody cannot be president. Anyway, thank you very much.
All right, let's go to Facebook and see what you have to say.
Okay, we have some posts here from Dr. Mrs. Molebra from Owerimo State. She says, sharing news from P2B that he is going to contest 2027 presidential election. Majority of Nigerians see P2B as a very good market. Even his fools inwardly and silently recognize that P2B is divinely ordained for the task of rescuing Nigeria from the deep well of visionless poverty, hunger, collapse of the economy and infrastructure, religious bigotry, and Nigeria presently occupies under past rudderless government, a man not given to thoughtless speeches and arrogance. Nigeria must not miss its redemption through P2B. Okay, then also Francis Namani from Enugu State, I'm not going to say precisely, he says the move for constitutional review is a welcome development. However, Mr. President should revisit the 2014 Confab report and get reports implemented to address some of the challenges facing the country. Eke Gona says, Mr. President, or rather Mr. P2B declaring his intention for 2027 election for me is good, and I believe the obedient movement will also go for it. Sebastian Abigwe from Ugwabo Busi says, honestly, parties coming together as a formidable force to unseat this government is a welcome development, but what could be their major challenge is the choice of who becomes the flag bearer of the party. Citing an example of what transpired in 2023 before the primary election that brought about Mr. P2B leaving PDP to Labour Party, and he says, without missing words, Mr. Peter is juicy candidate that any party cannot afford to miss regarding his political integrity. We have to pause it there, and then Kegonas comes again to talk about so I will have to leave that one. Let's go to other posts because we have already acknowledged one of the comments you made. So let's go to the video that we have live on our Facebook page. Tony Lawrence from Port Harcourt, he's saying that Wiki has been speaking too much, and then Master Obe SJP says Rap City Minister Bresayesin Wiki talks too much as a politician and barrister. Nigerians are watching. A day Jagaban will leave seat, Wiki will run to exile. And then Christopher Smith Chukwemeka says he's watching from thank you for watching. Then Wisdom Peter is also watching, and then several other people who are also watching on that very page.
All right, then we are definitely rounding off already, Tony. A lot of comments have come in already. What will be your last take on today's topics?
We are going to keep the faith or the hope alive, and then the renewed hope. Remember, that's the agenda of Mr. President. And nobody is also talking about electoral reforms. For those who are very optimistic that what's come to us, something may happen. What about the electoral reforms? Nobody is talking about it. And Mr. President, by the time the year runs out, will give us a new INEC chairman. And we'll begin from that. And remember, the presidency has responded and also reacted to coalition movement, telling them, forget 2027, prepare for 2031. That's what the presidency told them. Forget about 2027, is just over. Just prepare. What you should be preparing will be 2031. And that statement, it could be political statement, no doubt, but does it have any weight? Does the statement have any weight? Electoral reforms, they remain important more than any of these things.
Franklin?
I can know police in essence, I'm a Kanya dinner again, And what I'm saying is, I keep on preaching this. People should approach 2027 with, controlled hope. Don't put your hope so much on 2027 thinking that miracle is going to happen. This is Nigeria, and Fal said it.
All right then, thank you gentlemen for your contribution on today's edition of the Polity, and of course for your calls and your contribution. Thank you for listening. Polity is going to